given all the ups and downs and the strange behaviors of the market and of life the last couple of years, like the thing that's been consistent all the way through is we pray to the God of randomness. Like
Yes.
that is, when in doubt, Bright Moments has always used randomness as its true north. But I think in a world where we just have a hard time trusting people and trusting things and trusting brands, if we can prove that randomness is indeed random on some fundamental level, it levels the playing field.
So Seth, where are you right now? I know where you are, but maybe you can tell us a bit about your location.
Venice, Italy, not Venice Beach. That's number one.
So Venice, how is it? How is it? Are you loving it, hating it? What are your impressions?
It's a very strange place. In the same way that even though Venice Beach is in Los Angeles, when I lived in Venice Beach, I didn't live in Los Angeles. It's very different, right? Like in Venice Beach, you walk, you take your bike, you don't drive a lot. And it's kind of like its own, definitely its own vibe. LA is broader and different, and it's really about like driving around in cars and this LA lifestyle. But Venice Beach is its own little island, as it were. And Venice, Italy is the same. I haven't spent a lot of time in and around Italy outside of Venice now. I've been here for more than a month with Christy, with Dole, with Pablo, with Leo, with Fed, who's kind of local, part of Bright Moments, helping us organize. And it definitely has a life of its own. It's on the water, so you sleep very deeply and you have a lot of dreams. And there's no cars, there's no Ubers. It's just walking everywhere, these little tiny streets. There's a lot of small streets and nondescript buildings. And then you go into the building and it's like the greatest cathedral you've ever seen. So it's filled with that. And I think, Venice, Italy has been a muse to writers and artists for all these years, 800, 900, 1,000 years. I mean, like long, long time. And obviously, we're here because this is where the Bright Moments roadmap ends. And this is where we're going to be minting the last 1,000 crypto citizens, which are called crypto Venetians. This is where we're going to be minting the Finale project, which I'll share more about. And it's also happening during the Venice Biennale, which is, I think, the greatest art fair and festival that we have, because it's so international and it really feels it's like Disney World if you're in the art world. It's exciting. It doesn't feel like it's just a scene. Now, some of these art fairs, it's like you go to be seen or you go to a party. I think what's exciting here is all the different people coming from around the world to showcase their art in the classic Biennale. And so we were very deliberate about staging our finale at the same time here. Because in a way, Bright Moments is an international community of artists, mostly generative artists and AI artists, who are coming together for this final gathering to share time with each other, to reflect upon the last 3 years of Bright Moments, and to share some new work, with each other and with our collectors.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the timing is perfect. For as you said, it clearly looks like you timed it on the first week of the event. And what are your thoughts there, Seth? You think we'll see people going to the event, hearing about the Bright Moments, and maybe coming and visiting? Do you expect some of that a good entrance to these people from the traditional art world? What are your thoughts there?
I don't know. I mean, if that happens, it's a bonus.
Mm.
You know, it's not like I think we did this more as a extension of the education of our own community than trying to get people to walk over from the traditional world. Like if I think about where we started in Venice Beach, and then New York, and then Berlin, every step of the way, I think we tried to up our game in terms of cultural awareness, in terms of our own technology, in terms of the artists we're working with, in terms of just our own kind of sophistication in terms of doing what we're doing and putting on really interesting experiences. And so I think from London to Mexico, I think Mexico was really where we really opened up this idea of workshops and panels. And we did, hands-on workshops with Casey Rees and Zach Lieberman. And we did a panel with conversation with Ganbrud and Sofia Crespo about AI art. So that was Mexico City. And then we followed that up in Tokyo. And then Tokyo to Buenos Aires, and Buenos Aires to Paris. And so I think we've been on this journey to discover and celebrate digital art together in places where there's a lot of traditional culture, right? And I think we felt that in Paris a couple months ago. It felt really good. It felt like, that gallery was full of people, and they were all people that we knew. And it wasn't a bunch of traditional art people who walked in. If they came, great, but we didn't need them. And I think there's too much in the digital world right now of sort of feeling insecure that somehow we don't matter unless the traditional art world recognizes us. And I do think it's important to make onboarding easier. I do think wallets have to be easier. I think a lot of these mechanisms need to be good and easy for everybody, but it's not because we somehow need the validation of the traditional art world. I think we just want to make it easier for anybody to get involved.
Yeah. So I Kayvon from Foundation, he was in the podcast and he had a very similar message, right? Like if they want to come in, that's great, right? But that's not what Foundation in that case is trying to do, right? They are more focusing on the modern art and artist contemporary art in the digital form, right? And I agree. I feel like many people are trying to get the attention, right, from the traditional artwork, but I don't think that's the end goal for what we are doing, right, in the space. And Seth, what can you tell us? So you've been traveling for 3 years, right? You've been living kind of a nomad life. How is that experience? What do you love about it, and what do you hate about it? Because let's face it, it's hard, right, to be in all these cities for a couple of months, right, and then coming back to US, then doing it again. How do you feel after 3 years? How does the team is feeling about the whole experience?
It's a pretty complicated set of emotions. I think right now we are on adrenaline, like it's like you're in mile 24 of a 26-mile marathon, and you turn the corner and you sort of, maybe you don't see the finish line, but it's there, and you're not in control of your bodily functions, but you're going to fucking make it to the end. And I think that's what we feel. God bless Christy, who's such a part of this journey and has been incredibly supportive and still talks to me, and still with me, because it's a lot on human relationships, and it takes a toll on working relationships and friendships and family and all of this. It's just hard when you're not settled and when you're living out of a suitcase. We try to keep it light. We have a lot of fun. Our tagline is serious fun. It's serious because the blockchain is serious and provenance is serious, and um, all the economics around this are very serious, but it's also fun because we are inventing something, as we go, and we are creating our way through it.
Yeah.
And it's never been done before. And, it came out of a very specific time, which was the pandemic, right? We were all stuck in Venice Beach at the beginning of 2021. And Christy and I just moved there from San Francisco. We didn't know a lot of people, but people weren't going anywhere because they were stuck in quarantine. And that's where this happened. And so it was a time when the idea of travel was very compelling and very seductive because we had been stuck at home for a couple of years. And so the notion of going around the world and making art, all these digital artists, was a fantasy. Now we're 3 years into the reality. It's not as sexy as it kind of once felt. It's draining. There's been a lot of changes in the market, as you know. We saw, when we started, Ethereum layer 1 has been, for the most part, the foundational economic layer of Bright Moments as a DAO. And when we started, it was probably 1,500. When we minted in New York at the end of 2021 with Crypto New Yorkers and Tyler Hobbs in complete control, I think Ethereum was, 4,200 or something like that.
Almost all-time high, almost.
Right. When we were in London minting crypto Londoners, it was closer to 1,000, right? And then it sort of hovered around 2,000 for a long time, and now it's back up again. But it's been a very volatile backdrop economically as a currency or as a kind of fuel, for us in the ecosystem. Not to mention the fact that there's been so many metas competing, from PFPs when we started to, hardcore, the boom of, art blocks, and then FX hash booming, early 2022, to the meta around AI. And now we're seeing with, Solana, Ordinals, and meme coins, and Base, and Degen, and Farcaster, like, things keep shifting. And we've tried to be really consistent about our mission and our roadmap. And it feels good to do, if nothing else, I feel like we're doing what we said we were going to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what Bright Moments, what's very impressive, we already mentioned the traveling, right? Oh, it's very challenging, but you are capable of putting shows that feel very much, state of the art on every city, right? So you incorporate either through artists or through experiences, through talks or themes, what's happening right at the moment, and maybe what's happening during that month. So that's very impressive because you need to be, paying attention basically every day while building these events. So it's very challenging. And I wanted to ask you, like, you already mentioned, right, the meme coins, what's happening on Farcaster, what's happening on Solana, Ordinals. So how is it? Because
I think I hit all the bright shiny objects.
yeah, that's basically, and this seems to be like happening since 2 months ago, right? These kind of items popping up. How do you, if the question is, because the finale, it's, I think, a bit special, right? Because it's not going to be more like looking back, right, into everything that's been happening with Bright Moments. But are you planning to incorporate some of these, let's say, shiny objects into the event somehow?
There will be no Solana. So for all the Solana lovers, I'm sorry. There will be no Bitcoin ordinals. So for all the Bitcoin maxi, I'm sorry as well. We are incorporating Base, and we've incorporated Base, in Paris for the artists in residence, and with Coinbase and Highlight and Zancan, we did what I think is still now the largest on-chain generative project ever, with 75 or 76,000 unique mints. We are also using Base to settle our daily golden token auctions.
Yes.
That being said, the crypto Venetians and the Finale project will be minted on layer 1 Ethereum on art blocks, as we've done from the get-go. And I think that's part of our provenance, is we have 2 main contracts. We have a citizens contract on art blocks, and we have a moments contract on art blocks. And both of those contracts will be coming to an end on Monday, April 22nd in the evening in Venice, Italy, when we mint crypto Venetian number 999 and we mint Finale mint number 999, because they always start at 0. And that'll be the end of this roadmap on layer 1.
Yeah, that's exciting. So that comes to a close on chain and off chain, like the whole project. That's very interesting. And can you tell us a bit, Seth? Because I've been paying attention to the auctions and the golden tickets. So basically, this time they give you a citizen mint and also a unique piece, 1 out of 100 or out of 1,000, 100, right?
So this is how it works.
Yeah.
So the idea all along was for Venice, Italy to be a retrospective. And so we're going to have an amazing retrospective of the last 3 years. So when you come to the Scuola Grande San Giovanni, on the first floor, there'll be like 20 screens, and 10 will be showing each of the crypto citizen cities, Venice, Galacticans, New Yorkers, etc. And then there'll be 10 screens that will show all of the artists that we have minted in and around each city, in each time zone. And that'll all be retrospective, right? And then up to the last 2 screens, that will be showing you new mints from the Venetians and from the Finale project that are coming live upstairs. Because when you go upstairs, if you have a golden token for Venice, you will actually, with that 1 golden token, which is kind of like a mint pass, you'll mint 2 NFTs. 1 NFT will be your crypto Venetian, and then with that, you will be able to mint an output from what we're calling the Finale collection. And the Finale collection includes right now between 50 and 60 artists that we have worked with over the last 3 years, who we invited to submit code into this Finale meta project. So the request was, please be part of this Finale project. It's kind of like We Are the World, and submit 24 kilobytes of code using P5 and whatever libraries, and it's being project managed by Spongenuity, Casey Dilla, and Peter Pasma, and Phil and our team. And Peter Pasma, God bless him, because he's minifying all the code. He's a magician at that. So it's a little bit like the Manhattan Project, but without any of the political undertones. And then we have artists like Maya Mann, Iskra, Marcelo, Zach Lieberman, Casey Rees, Def Beef, Kim Assendorf, Andreas Giesen, Monica Rizzoli, Zancan, Ketchel Golid, like an amazing, amazing collection of artists who are all contributing a little bit of code. And when you come, and after you mint your Venetian, you'll go into another room and you'll mint an output from the Finale collection. And not only won't you know what the artwork is, you won't know who the artist is until it happens. And the artists themselves won't know. So if you do the math, and let's assume there's 50 artists, although there'll be slightly more, the probability is there's a 2% chance that any one of those 50 artists will get minted when it's your turn. Okay. And you don't know who it's going to be. And the artists don't know it's going to be. And most of the artists will be there with you in some shape or form at the Scuola, because they're going to be fascinated to know if and when their work gets minted. So it's like double or triple randomness, and it's randomness all the way down. And it's all fundamentally on-chain random, provably random. And some of the artists will probably get minted, if the standard if the expected probability is each artist gets minted 20 times, and there's 50 artists, the reality is some will get minted 30 times, some will get minted 10 times. A couple, maybe one, doesn't even get minted.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really fun.
Yes, and usually what happens is you have a mint pass and you can pick, right? Or the mint pass comes with the name, right? Like this is artist
Not
A.
this time.
Not this time. So that will be exciting because artists also will be, I mean, I'm sure they want their pieces to be minted. Nobody will be willing to not be minted, right? But that will be exciting. And how does these collections, how does it look? Are you going to reveal some previews soon? Because I think I haven't seen those.
Yeah. They look great. And a lot of the artists, like today, Zach Lieberman shared some outputs of these kind of evening ripples of water that echoes his work from Mexico, which was 100 Sunsets.
Yeah.
Zancan showed some of his that have the names of the Bright Moment cities, behind the flowers. So I think you'll see more and more sample outputs from the artists, but we'll also be sharing some of them. It's kind of a fun game because if you click the reveal, it's kind of like guess the artist. You don't know who it is.
Yes.
Ana Carreras called it a randomness party. And I think that's how we want to finish this roadmap is with, what do they say? Like, the only thing that you can't, that doesn't change is change itself. It's like, in our case, like, given all the ups and downs and the strange behaviors of the market and of life the last couple of years, like the thing that's been consistent all the way through is we pray to the God of randomness. Like that is, when in doubt, Bright Moments has always used randomness as its true north. And it just feels right. And I think there's a deep foundation of randomness, as you know, in generative art. And there's a deep foundation of randomness in AI art, although it's not as explicit. But I think in a world where we just have a hard time trusting people and trusting things and trusting brands, if we can prove that randomness is indeed random on some fundamental level, it levels the playing field. And even the way that we distribute citizens, a third of every city gets airdropped randomly to our citizen holders.
Right.
And it feels fair.
Yeah, no, that's exciting, Seth. I mean, I'm going to be there. I'm paying attention to the auctions. And I have a couple of friends. So this one is going to be very exciting for me because I'm going to be there with some friends that we are traveling from here, from Spain, right? So we are kind of neighbors. And, I've been to the events, but usually I meet people there, right, that I already know online. So it's very, very, very fun. But this time I'll experience it with my friends, and we are all paying attention to the auctions and looking forward for the previews. We are all very, very excited. And the schedule is out. There will be a dinner, right, the first day, and then the minting starts, right, day 2 and 3. What else? So if somebody's listening,
we also
to this,
have something that we're really excited about called the Dream Cathedral, and I think you probably saw. We started it in Tokyo. We exhibited it for the first time, and we showed it again in Paris. It's initially it was created by Human, the AI artist, right? It's a real-time voice-to-video AI installation.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. And it just keeps getting faster and smoother. And Human created it, and now we have a small team working on it, including Spongenuity, including Miklos, and some others. In this case, in Venice, we were able to take over a church. So across the street, across the little alley from our main minting area, we have a church that we're turning into something called the Dream Cathedral. And it will be a collaboration with Ganbrud, the AI artist. And we are stylizing this AI installation based on his prompts. And when you go into the church, effectively, you'll be confessing to the AI, and you'll be seeing digital paintings coming at you based on what you confess. And this will be
Nice.
open starting on the 17th of April and will last for at least a month.
Oh, that's exciting. So it will last for a month, so anybody could go there and experience that.
And it's the first
Awesome.
time that we've opened up this dream machine to an outside artist. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is a really interesting collaboration model for us and for the product, is to start to open it up to other artists to kind of bring their own style prompts to the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that takes me to the my I'm very curious about what's next. Last time we chatted a bit about some ideas you had, and I feel like many people are wondering. So what's happening now with Bright Moments after this city? So what can you tell us about that, Seth? And you showed some hints in parties, right, or some of your plans. So what can you tell us, Seth?
I think we're gonna take a little bit of a breather. You know, the team has been working incredibly hard the last couple years. I think we really want to give this collection of NFTs that we've minted a chance for people to reflect on them and appreciate them. I think sometimes because we're so busy minting new work, it's really hard to like. Even now, it's like we minted 1,900 NFTs in Paris across 19 artists, and each one of those collections, Linda Dunia's, Rupe's, Lauren Lee McCarthy's, Luke Shannon's, Martin Grasser's, um, Maya's, Harm's, like they all deserve time and
Yeah.
attention. And I think when we push so much minting into a live experience, it's really exciting to be there, but I think it requires a little bit more time to marinate. And so we want to
Yes.
give that not just for Paris, but across all of Bright Moments and say, okay, now we just ran through 3 years. Let's step back and appreciate like what is the arc? What does the story say about digital art and generative art and AI art from 2021 through 2024? And I know that's not answering your question, but I think it's really important for artists and for collectors to appreciate what we've just gone through. I think we have some ideas for what's next for Bright Moments. We clearly don't want to do anything to dilute the value of these collections. And obviously the market for generative art and for digital art looks really different right now in the middle of 2024 than it did in the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
2021. And I think we want to step back and really think about what we can do to take this community of artists and collectors around the world and elevate them to the next phase of growth.
Yeah.
We have some software that we've built. We have a product called Visions that is what we use internally for revealing art on different screens and creating playlists. And it's something we want to figure out how to open up to the community, because I think people are starting to wonder, like, okay, I have all this digital art. I want to show it at my
Yeah.
house. I want to show it in my office. I want to show it at this gallery. And there's no good solutions out there. And I think we
Yeah.
have something that can help. I think the AI experience, the Dream Machine, has a lot of interesting applications and opportunities that we want to pursue. Beyond that, I want to wait until we finish the last mint on Monday the 22nd,
Mm-hmm.
before we say anything else.
No, that makes sense. And it's good that you take some time, because you've been so focused on delivering these experiences, right? That maybe a bit of a breather, as you said, can, I mean, can be great to get the inspiration on what should be the next steps, right? For Bright Moments and the whole community. Now you have, it's a worldwide community of artists, collectors. They are all around the world, and so many possibilities as well, right? So yeah, I'll be waiting for those, the next steps. And also you have the DAO, right? And you have these how do you call them, the galleries in each city, right? That those will those be operating for the next year? How does, if I'm in Mexico, is there a gallery right now? How does it works with the different gallery?
So there's no physical galleries We have a small space in Berlin that we've held on to, but we've tried to stay really light in terms
Hmm.
of leases to give ourselves flexibility. And you'll see in Venice, like it's like we're calling the and all the different people from around the Bright Moments communities are coming to Venice, right? So
Okay.
there's really nothing going on in New York or Paris or London or Tokyo. What we have been doing, which I think is interesting, is giving each local community the opportunity to host their own events. So if you're part of a community, we did one in Madrid. Maybe there's a community in Buenos Aires. If they want to have a dinner for collectors and artists, the
Hmm.
DAO will sponsor that.
Okay.
We're really pushing as much as possible towards decentralization. Like after 3 years, we want to put as much decision making into the hands of the community
Yeah.
because it's an amazing community that that I think wants to continue to interact in real life with each
Hmm.
other. And I think there's ways to do that that don't take the toll physically and emotionally and economically on us as a centralized team the way
Yeah.
it has for these 3 years.
Yeah, and I remember when we met in Mexico, you mentioned that it starts like the projects start more centralized, and the goal is that they start to decentralize every time a little bit more. And I think you are in a great position to do that, right? With the DAO, so people can submit a proposal through the DAO for this kind of events and get funded. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Awesome, Seth. And we mentioned briefly the state of the market, what's happening these days. So I want to hear from you. What are you excited about? What are you seeing? Talking to artists, collectors. You've been on Farcaster. So in general, in the space, in Web3, in art, but also in the blockchain technology in general. What are you excited about these days, Seth?
I mean, excited is a double-edged sword, because what you get excited and then um, you get obsessed, and then you get speculative, and then you get greedy, and then you get sad because all your money goes to zero, right? Like there's these cycles of like, and yet if you don't engage and you just FUD it on the way up, you don't know what you're going to miss out on, right?
Mhm.
And so it's very tricky, I think, for all of us to figure out how to balance focus. Let's take a couple key themes, right? Meme coins, right?
Mhm.
Meme coins are a thing. It's I saw it with Dog with Hat. I have two sons, Charlie and Jacob. Charlie is 22. Jacob's 20. He'll be 25 next week. They'll both be here for the finale. We started together as a family with Christy and Amicia and Dole back in Venice Beach 3 years ago. But thanks to their age groups and not my own, I'm able to sort of like, okay, I guess I should buy some of this Dog with Hat in December. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? What is it? Is it art? No. Is it DeFi? No. It's a dog with a hat. And it keeps going up. Then it goes down, but it goes up. But like it's a meme and it's powerful. And people rally around it the same way they rally around Pepe. When the
Yeah.
Pepe coin came out, we were in Tokyo. And the reason I remember it was May because our prices to mint
Yeah, we're
crypto Tokyoites
very
and
high.
mint were crazy high because of the fucking Pepe coin, right? Um, and it didn't go away, right? Pepe's been here forever. So I think like these meme coins are important. They have product market fit. They're pretty easy and permissionless to launch.
Yeah.
You've seen it with, Dark Farms and Book of Meme is fascinating. And I was probably like all of us, 12 hours away from generational wealth. But a couple people that I know well just sent 420 Sol 0.69 to that contract and ended up with $50 million. And you can say that's bullshit, that's a bubble, that's a Ponzi scheme, but it's not, right? And Dark
Yeah.
Farms is pretty interesting, degenerate Pepe art for a long time and didn't take the proceeds for himself,
Mhm.
right? There's some really interesting lessons there in terms of a fair launch that I think artists and galleries can learn from. Um, Now, some of these things go up and go to zero, but some of them go up and go down and then kind of hold their place. And you
Yeah.
can say Dog with Hat, and Book of Meme have done that. Now, that's on the Solana side.
Yeah.
If we shift to base, obviously Farcaster has been a huge, it's what do they say? It's an overnight success, 2 years in the making.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? You can say this just happened, but it actually launched in Venice Beach, right? That's where it started. That's where it's based. Phil, my partner, Bright Moments, who runs everything, he was super early and he's super big on Farcaster. We call him Farcaster Phil. And he's been grinding it out for years there because he was tired of Twitter and he wanted something that was decentralized and permissionless that he can trust. And so the same thing with Camille Roux, right? Some of these people that we see there are Koopa Trooper. They've been there for a while, like you have. And what's super interesting there is like with Farcaster, you have like Twitter meets Venmo, right? That's not owned by any one company or any one person. It really is fairly open. Now, there's issues with Base, and you could argue that Base is more centralized because it's coming from Coinbase, but it also is really easy to use. And if you're using Coinbase and you're using Coinbase Wallet and their new self-custody wallet, it's so much easier than MetaMask. And I've been a MetaMask maxi for a while, and I'm starting to shift my, attention. So it's not just MetaMask. I'm using Phantom for Solana, and I'm using my Coinbase wallet for all the base stuff. It's really easy to use. And what's so interesting to me about Farcaster is frames are interesting, but tipping is really interesting. And what they're doing with Degen and the way Degen launched and the way it's being used as a kind of way of ultimately, I think, paying for art. And, I think that the tipping on Farcaster could, in a way, help replace the loss of royalties on OpenSea. If you play this out, this seems what is going to happen. And then there's, Degen as an L2 that's moved to its own L3 chain with the Degen chain.
Yeah, now they are the highest volume of all L3s.
Right.
Degen chain, even more than Blast, from what I heard. So kind of crazy. Yeah.
There's just a lot of heat there. It's dangerous to speculate because the volatility is pretty extreme. But you're starting to see more and more artists and more collectors move into that ecosystem, which I think is healthy. Now it begs the question, which is, okay, what do we do? Where should we mint art? And how should we mint art?
Yes.
And should it be on Art Block? Should it be on FX Hash? Should it be on Highlight? Should it be on Foundation? Should it be probably not Tez, but there's still a strong Tez community. ETH is very expensive on mainnet to mint, but it carries provenance and people trust it. More and more is happening on Base, but it feels more experimental. But I think time will tell. I just think we have to experiment. There's also the different metas of, is it an open edition at a really low price? Or is it a smaller capped edition at a high price? And we're seeing people don't trust, they don't trust one of X at a high price anymore, the same way they used to, right? And I think we may swing back to that meta. Right now, it's a buyer's market for a whole bunch of Art Blocks projects and a whole bunch of FX Hash projects. Yeah. Right now is a great time to go pick up your Subscapes and Meridians and Anticyclones on Art Blocks. You can probably get Dragons and a bunch of Zancans, right?
Big discount. Yeah.
Right? But it's not fashionable. What's much more fashionable are open editions and meme coins and Ordinals right now. But I think there's been a lot of money being made and there's a lot of volatility happening. At a certain point, people rotate into Fidenzas because they trust them to hold value.
Or squiggles maybe. But yeah, you're right. That's a great summary of what's happening. And yeah, when you mentioned where should we mint? I think many artists, I get a lot of questions from artists like, hey, should I try Sora or should I try Base or should I? And I don't know what to answer, right? I think they need to be experimental, as you said. Just have an open mind. Don't be like all in into something at this moment, right? But just keep exploring. And same for collectors. For collectors, I've also hear some collectors a bit frustrated because they don't have the, how do they keep track of everything? It's not possible anymore, right? So how can they, in the early days, you were an art blocks collector, or you were an FX hash collector, or you liked foundation, or you explore a bit. You were in one spot, one place. Now it doesn't work like that, it seems, which probably is more healthy, right? For artists and in general for the space, right?
I think collectors more and more follow the artist, right? X Copy is a really good example. Now he's not a generative artist, right?
Yeah.
But he has explored so many different ways of minting.
Yeah, he has his own coin.
His own coin, yeah. And it supports the early rare work. So it feels like the more he mints,
yeah,
and the bigger the open editions are, like he just did, right, on base, which was like 1 million mints.
Yeah,
it doesn't take away the value of his early work. It actually supports it because he has more attention. So the example here is, let's take Zancan, right? I'm very proud of my garden monolith. I remember when I bought it in November of 2022, we were in Mexico City, and I just fell in love with him and his work. And it's a really important piece of mine. And he's gone on, at the time, he hadn't minted a lot of work. And he's gone on to mint more work, right? Yes. And there were times when people said he was minting too much work. And he had an open edition on Verse, and he did beautiful project with us in Tokyo. And then he just did this project with Coinbase on base for a free mint.
Yes.
75,000 pieces. And that actually, I don't know if it shows in the market data right now, but I actually think that makes garden monoliths worth more, not less, right? Yes. That he has now exposed his work to more and more wallets, to more and more people, who any one of which can go down the rabbit hole and trace back his career and go back to Tezos and go back to FX Hash and say, whoa, I really love this artist. I want to go back and collect his Genesis piece, right? And I think that's the kind of experimentation that artists need to feel safe to do. Otherwise, they're just going to stop releasing work. And I don't think anybody benefits from that. But at the same time, as a collector, you don't want an artist to release too much. So it's really a very fine balance.
It's a science, actually. It's a science. And it's very, some artists are great at doing it, and some artists are not. And that's where they need some support from galleries like Bright Moments, or now, there are other entities helping, supporting artists. But yeah, that's a great way to put it, Seth. Always great to hear your thoughts. One last question. What are Ordinals? Thoughts on Ordinals? What's going to happen with Ordinals? I see that it's growing as well, very fast. I start to see more art on Ordinals. What do you see around that ecosystem, Seth?
I bought my first 2 Ordinals the other day. I bought a 1970 cent for myself, which was my birth year, and I bought a 1979 one for Christy, which was her birth. So maybe she
That's a great project, right?
Born. Yeah, I know some folks behind it, and we were in Berlin the week before it launched, and again, it wasn't some macro strategy for Ordinals as much as it was just knowing the people behind it who I trusted. I do know that there are a lot of Bitcoin holders that don't want anything to do with Ethereum, and they want to stay in that ecosystem. And I think Ordinals responds to that to a certain extent. So I think there is a fair amount of liquidity in the Bitcoin ecosystem looking for art within the Bitcoin ecosystem. I don't think the art is nearly as interesting in the Ordinal space as it is on Ethereum. I don't think you have the kind of programmability and interesting use of smart contracts, the way you see with Defby, for example, or Mitchell Chan, or some of these artists that do amazing things with like the poetry of smart contracts. I don't think we see that in Ordinals. It seems more two-dimensional, literally an inscription, like a hieroglyph, but it doesn't move me emotionally the way that some of these on-chain Ethereum projects do, and that's why I just haven't focused on it as much.
Yeah, no, definitely. Also, for me, it's a bit of it took me a little bit to understand how it worked, right? You need another kind of wallet, then it's Bitcoin, right? So you need to use Bitcoins, and yeah, just a lot of everything seems to be a bit more expensive, right? So you have to be careful. But yeah, no, same thoughts. I do see some people that really love ordinals, right? They are really like ordinals, maxi. And again, I think it's about exploring, right? Having an open mind and see how it develops. But I agree that the limitation on smart contracts makes it a little bit tricky for it to incorporate mechanics, right, or integrate with platforms. Yeah, will be interesting to see the future of ordinals. And Seth, see you soon. See you soon in Venice.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm excited.
Yeah, and thanks so much for joining. By the way, you are the only person that has been in the podcast for twice, so 2 times. Wow. So great to have you again, and see you soon.
Thank you, Kalo. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.